Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman. A few years ago, I wrote and performed a solo show called The Edge of Every Day, which was an exploration of the rough edges and contradictions we all face and grapple with. The show hit a nerve, and the relevance of the topic would only grow over time, more than I could have foreseen. So, here we are. Real talk with real people, sharing stories and perspectives that spark provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening.
Pressing down on you, no man has fall under pressure.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome to the Edge of Every Day. Today, we are live in the Hive in our new home at MaximizeU.life. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Edge of Every Day is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradoxes and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and understandings, both individually and collectively. I debuted the Edge of Everyday podcast based on my one-woman show of the same name in October of 2021. Starting a podcast was never my plan, but it was in response to the lockdown of COVID and the call to share my voice in a bigger way out in the world. I celebrated the first year anniversary of the podcast on Halloween of last year. And then in January of this year, I took what was to have been a short break, but before I knew it, a month off had turned into 9, as I grappled with how the podcast needed to change and to grow. So how fitting it is that 9 months later, I'm rebirthing the Edge of Every Day on this Halloween, when the veil between the worlds is at its most thin, and the ancestors have gathered in to lend us their voices. Happy Halloween and happy Witches' New Year. Listen, we live in edgy, challenging times, and silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our dark, shadowy corners. Because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So, thanks again for tuning in. And without further ado, it is time to introduce our guests. Of course, it's absolutely fitting that my first guests in my new home would include the dynamic duo behind the founding of MaximizeU. Sal Celly, founder and advisor. Sal has had 30 plus years of a highly accomplished technology, sales, and consulting career with Oracle, Infor, Dell, among others, and is an expert in identifying, analyzing, and executing on market opportunities across industry verticals and organizational stages. A successful entrepreneur, angel investor, and thought leader, having set up and mentored several business operations and leaders across industries and geographies. Sal is a sought-after speaker and mentor and has published various books, podcasts, and a video channel. Sal has an MBA from Dalhousie University and graduate studies from Cornell, MIT, and Stanford University, and he resides in Austin, Texas. Sal is a certified Edgewalker coach and facilitator. Laura Celly, CEO. Laura has over 20 years of experience across sales, education, and training. She served 6 years in the U.S. Navy as a preventative medicine and environmental health specialist. After an honorable discharge, Laura developed LGC Safety Training, a food safety and compliance organization. After converting to an online platform, Laura worked in tech sales and marketing, following which she became a Texas certified special education teacher. Laura holds a bachelor's in mass communication from Texas State University. Welcome, Sal and Laura Celly.
Thank you so much, Sandra. We're so excited.
It's so great to be here on MaximizeU.life.
Yeah.
And now I would like to introduce our third guest. Judi Neal. Dr. Judi Neal is the founder, chairman, and CEO of Edgewalkers International. She was the founding director of the Tyson Center for Faith and Spirituality in the Workplace at the Sam M. Walton College of Business, University of Arkansas. Judi is recognized as an expert on spirituality in the workplace and speaks and consults internationally. She received her PhD from Yale in organizational behavior. In 1988, Judi began teaching management at the University of New Haven, where she focused her research on business leaders who have a strong commitment to their faith and spirituality, and began studying how they bridge the spiritual world and the material world of business. That led to her research on people she calls edgewalkers. Judi was co-founder of the Management, Spirituality, and Religion Interest Group of the Academy of Management, as well as co-founder of the Journal of Management, Spirituality, and Religion, and the International Association of Management, Spirituality, and Religion. She has published widely in the field. She has published many books and is a popular and inspiring international speaker. Welcome, Dr. Judi Neal. Uh-oh.
Thank
there
you.
She is.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, a complete and utter pleasure. And I also want to shout out to the women with our beautiful Halloween hats on. Sal, we got you. We got you.
Mm-hmm.
So listeners, all three of these dynamic leaders possess a tremendous curiosity to know more about the world around them. And all three of them join me today to announce an exciting collaboration between them, a collaboration between MaximizeU and Edgewalkers International, both on the leading edge of change, on the leading edge of global consciousness, and the leading edge of merging spiritual intelligence with business and technology. So again, I'm so excited to see the three of you, and I'm so excited for this debut podcast on MaximizeU.life. Okay, so we're going to dive in. We're just going to dive in with two questions that I have always loved to ask. Well, actually, one of them I've always loved to ask my guests, but I've added a new one now with this Edgewalker vibe. So I'm going to start with you, Sal. What identity do you lead with, and what worlds do you move between? Get ready, Judi and Laura.
It's a tough question, right? But I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Sandra. So the identity I lead with is maximizing human potential. Okay, I'm a firm believer in that. And in my humble opinion, human talent and human potential is a sustainable and competitive differentiator. So what I can do and what the organization can do to maximize it is significant and central to whatever we do. So that's what I lead with. In terms of the worlds I kind of bridge, many actually, but primarily I would say the worlds of being a responsible and good householder, and a father, and a husband, and an entrepreneur, because those are both very, very difficult but very rewarding worlds to thrive in. And that is always a bridge I'm working on, strengthening and improving.
Beautiful. Just beautiful. Laura is absolutely beaming, so we have to go to her now.
You know, I am very much in line with Sal, helping others, you know, becoming a teacher and teaching and leading has always been the world that I walked in. I feel it's important for everyone to do their part to make the world a better place. And I've always felt strongly about that. And what, you know, again, and like Sal is making sure that the world that I live in, my goal is to make sure that I make it a better place and leave it a better place, and that I do make a difference in other people's lives, that I know that I've helped someone reach a goal, or help someone just become a better person, a better human being. And everyone around me feels that I bring that to them. So definitely we walk in the same path. That's why we're together.
I love it. Well, it's beautiful. Of course you do. And you, Judi.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sal and Laura. That's so inspiring, so centered in love. And I would say my primary identity is being a spiritual body, a spiritual being in a human body. And that's a challenge.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's a sense of, I came into this world for some purpose, and over time that's gotten clearer and clearer. And I'm not restricted to the physicality of this human body or even this physical life. There's something more to me and to all of us. And the more we can live from that space of walking the edge between the spiritual and the material, the more impact we'll have on others, in the way that Sal and Laura so beautifully talk about, helping others to find their meaning and purpose and their sense of calling.
Absolutely.
So the worlds I walk between primarily are the world, besides the material and spiritual, is the world of academia, scholarly work, you know, research, that academic world, and the world of business and how you apply these spiritual wisdom that's been in humanity since the beginning of time, that ancient wisdom. How do we apply that in today's modern, chaotic, hectic, unpredictable, challenging world? I think I call this time spiritual graduate school. And so
Indeed, it
how
really
can
is.
I help people in these times?
Well, thank you, Judi. That, of course, was beautiful, and we're all shaking our heads and agreeing with each of us. I think anyone that is called to the work of Edgewalker International has felt that purpose-driven mission since they were a small child, and have connected to that in the way that all of us move in the world. I'll just quickly say, if you had asked me a year ago what identity I led with, I would have probably answered, interestingly, the comedian in me. But I don't know that was actually true. I think I use that a lot. It's playful and fun to use, but I think I actually, like you, Judi, move through the world more as a spiritual being. It's just fun for me to be playful and comedic, but I love all of your answers and feel such a kinship with all of them. So thank you. So let's dive into a little bit about the work that you all do and why you're collaborating. So very, very exciting. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. Sal, let's start with you. Share a bit more with us and our listeners about the work that you've done in your career and how it's led to the creation and the vision of MaximizeU.
Yes, happy to do that. So, I've lived and worked globally, and as a result of my varied experiences, I just naturally became a leader, and people started reaching out to me, asking me for advice and career advice and life advice because they felt that I had a head on my shoulders and I was achieving results. So, and I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed sharing some of my best practices. And this started long ago. And that resulted in me coaching and mentoring people. And that continued and evolved into helping them maximize potential. And that in turn resulted in Laura and I creating MaximizeU.life a couple of years ago in the heart of COVID, when we really felt that it was time to elevate what we were doing and make it more relevant and a broader scope, leveraging technology. My background is technology on the business side, and we felt that it was time. There was so much of anxiety and stress and depression and mental illness and so much of weight on people that we felt that it was our responsibility to do something about it and create a platform that eliminates the traditional boundaries of self-improvement and balance. So that's typically how it led to what we are doing today. So it's not something that I suddenly fell out of bed and said, okay, let's do this today. So it's an evolution over time.
An evolution, definitely an evolution. We started, and even my experience with the education, I felt when we were in the heart of COVID, working with students was one thing, but working with the parents of the students was even, I could see that everyone needed some support. They needed some.
And the educators, yes.
Yes, and the educators as well. So we sat down and we said, listen, what can we do? Where do we want to go? And both of us, started coaching. We started, leading and trying to figure out the right way to do this. And this MaximizeU was definitely it.
And you knew, because of where we were in terms of COVID, that everything was already going so much online. And we knew that was never going away post-COVID, whenever that was going to be. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but we do know it's here, and we need to embrace that.
Embrace it.
Yeah. And I'm going to swing around to AI in a bit and how you wove that in, Sal. But I want to jump back to Judi now and ask her. So I loved reading. I by the way, my podcast before I joined MaximizeU, I had at another platform, and episode 28, I interviewed Dr. Judi Neal, and I listened to it in preparation to revisit some of those things today. And it's just you're such a spectacular interview. I had so much fun watching it. But I loved your discussion of workplace spirituality. And I want for our listeners, it feels as though workplace spirituality, that phrase and the understanding of what that is a little more understood in the world. But I still think there's confusion around it. Not everyone, I don't want to assume that everyone gets what that is, and nor understands the broad spectrum of what that encompasses. So can you speak to what is workplace spirituality? Why is it important? And how did it lead you to Edgewalkers?
And Sandra, thank you so much for talking about our podcast that you did, episode 28. And you are such a magnificent interviewer and such a joy to be in conversation with then and now. So thank you. And I think you're alluding to one of the tensions in the field of workplace spirituality is a confusion about whether or not we're talking about religion
Bingo.
or faith. Those other terms are used, faith at work, or a concern and a passion about living one's faith and religion in the workplace, which has led to some legal challenges in some cases because of proselytizing or harassment. And so when I talk about workplace spirituality, I'm separating that from a particular religious approach, whether that would be Buddhism or Christianity or Judaism. It's not a particular religious path, but looking at what are the truths in all of the different religions that if we live them in the workplace, the work would be more meaningful, more powerful, more productive, better customer service because of the connection to customers, the connection to a purpose greater than oneself. And when you look at all of these traditions, one of the things they have in common is the golden rule. And it's worded differently in the different traditions, but what if we live the golden rule in the workplace? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that looks at a real sense of connection between myself and the other, that we're not separate, we're one, and what I do and say impacts you, what you do and say impacts me. And so why not, as the Dalai Lama says, have the religion of kindness? And again, what would the workplace be like if there was more kindness?
Yes.
What would the workplace be like if we had the spiritual principle of forgiveness?
Indeed.
And so there are organizations that have been living this, and mindfulness is another whole big piece of this. So there's organizations that are doing this. And so I became really curious about the leaders and the organizations that are really working at this integration of personal spirituality and collective spirituality and culture that supports the human spirit in the workplace. And that's led to all the books I've written and a number of other things that we'll talk about.
Right. And the discovery of, I love this story that you started to see the trend of people, business people that you were interviewing about their faith and their sense of being at the edges of their communities, at the edges of their workspaces. Maybe not all of them, but it was often, it was a theme, and it led you to, if you want to share that story, I don't want to speak your story, I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, what I saw in interviewing leaders, and I was consciously interviewing leaders who had an explicit spiritual approach to the way that they led. They were willing to talk openly about it. And so one of the themes I saw that you're really referencing is that they saw themselves on the edge of the future, on the edge of their own system, whatever organization they were with. And that is that they would have a foot in their company and also a foot in connecting to other organizations or bigger trends, and a foot in the future. One of my favorite interviews was with Igor Sikorsky's brother. Igor Sikorsky was the inventor of the helicopter, and he was the founder of Sikorsky Aircraft, which turned into United Technologies, a major aircraft company. And Igor's brother had said that Igor would walk into the future as an engineer. He had a meditative practice where he would travel into the future to envision the design of an aircraft and then bring that back to his engineers and say, this is how we need to design it. And if it didn't fly quite right, he would travel back into the future again and go, oh, I see what's wrong. And he would bring that information back. That's a pretty profound human capacity.
Indeed.
You know, Sal and Laura talk about the full potential. We have so much more potential when we recognize our spirituality as well as our physical, human, mental, emotional capacities. And so that looking at all that edginess in the people that I talk to, I wanted to find a way to communicate that and support people who live on the edge in their systems and who are exploring these edges. So I wrote the book Edgewalkers, and then that turned into reaching out to other people who felt like they were edgewalkers and bringing them together in community so that we have more courage to live on the edge of every day, on our leading edge.
On our leading edge.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm just real quick going to tell the story how I met Judi. I discovered, because that's where we're going next. How did you guys all meet each other? I had already started the podcast, and I had been asked by a friend of mine to contribute a chapter to her #1 selling, what turned out to be her #1 best-selling book, On the Shoulders of Mighty Women by Leslie Michaels. So I have a short chapter in there. And I started using the phrase walking on the edges of my communities. And one day, as you do, I just Googled that phrase, walking on the edge, edge walking, and boom, edgewalkers.org came up. And I was I couldn't believe that it was an actual thing. And of course, I just scoured the website and read about the skills and the qualities, of course, which I had all. And I reached out to Judi and had her on as a guest, and just befriended her and moved into taking the facilitator training, and have moved into a larger role in the Edgewalker community. But I know that so many people discovering in the business world how and that these people are needed in the business world and needed in the times that we're in, these quickly changing, rapidly chaotic changing times, that people on the edge that can see the future, that can intuit the trends, that are willing to take risks, that want to disrupt, etc., etc. So it's profound work. So with that being said, I would like to know how did you all discover each other?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I was introduced to Judi by Dr. Payal Kumar, who I in turn was introduced to by a colleague of mine in India, who I had worked with over 25 years ago. Wow. So this just goes to show the power of connections and networks, right? And that's, and the community and the power of technology. Believe it or not, I have not met Payal yet in person. Because she's in India and she was in London, and I'm in Austin, and so she made the introduction because she said that, listen, I know somebody who would love to get online and do what you are doing, and I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Judi Neal. And that's how we met. And
excellent.
Yeah, that's how.
So this person who introduced you understood that that Edgewalkers, the profound work that they were doing in the world, already online, already global, what needed a place to park.
Yes.
And that could manage all of this and quite frankly monetize, and for everyone's thriving, and get that out into the world. Okay. I didn't realize that aspect of it.
Yes, I will say in the beginning, our conversations were specific to utilizing some of Judi's work to create it into an online course and an online program. As we started talking more, and again, I'm of the firm opinion that you have to let things take shape and grow and develop over time. Rome wasn't built in a day. and then over time, we've got to this point now, so where we are really talking about the actual collaboration and the private labeling of the platform, etc. But it started through the introduction of Dr. Payal Kumar.
I love it. I love it. And I might I mention that both you and Laura have taken the facilitator training, the Edgewalker facilitator.
I have taken. Laura
So,
has.
I have not.
You have not.
Yes.
You're
not
next
yet.
up.
I'm next up.
You can take the online course, Laura.
I
And
will.
MaximizeU.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so I want to just dive to now to announce that Edgewalkers International is partnering with MaximizeU's custom-built AI-powered platform to launch, drumroll please, Edgewalker Academy.
Yes.
We're so excited.
Oh, fantastic. This is so exciting. Oh my goodness. So you came to this decision and you know, if Judi, if you can quickly comment on how you came to understand, oh, this could live on MaximizeU.
Well, as Sal said, Payal had invited me to design a course for MaximizeU. I hadn't met Sal and Laura yet. And so we worked together to develop a course called Spiritual Leadership that Sal was very interested in having on the platform. And as I was developing the material, I guess, Sal, that you must have looked at some of the content and said, I need to talk to her. And so you became a part, both of you, Sal and Laura, and Sandra was already a part of the Edgewalker community.
Oh yes,
You
already.
were by then.
Definitely in our Edgewalker community, not MaximizeU though.
Right. But pretty shortly afterwards, you were too. And so at that point, we were expanding our community of certified facilitators in Edgewalkers, and Sal and Laura were reaching out to them, and we were encouraging all the facilitators to reach out to Sal and Laura about putting courses on it on the MaximizeU platform. And that triggered in me a dream I had had a long time ago of creating like a kind of university sort of selection of courses that people could take, that our different facilitators would create, that would have like, what is the edge of marketing? If you have integrated spirituality and marketing, Patricia Campanile, who's one of the first people to join Edgewalkers 20 years ago, she has a program called Marketing from the Heart. So what if we had that? And then Susan Furness, who lives in Dubai, she has a course on kind of conscious public relations and communications. So you've got the marketing, you've got the communications, and then we have other people that are developing course on cross-cultural edgewalkers. And there's like, oh my goodness, there's such a richness in the work people are doing. If we can put it all in one place. And then I went, I don't have the bandwidth or the money or the knowledge to create that through our Edgewalker website. And then in walks Sal and Laura and says, but we have the platform and we have a business model that's going to work for everyone. And we're Edgewalkers, so we want to help get the word out, to get the message out, to help people develop their qualities and skills on a deeper level, because that contributes to the shifting consciousness in the world. And I just have to say how much all three of you model being Edgewalker leaders, because you're collaborative, you're creative, you allow, as Sal said, for emergence. There's a trusting that things are supposed to unfold the way they do. And it's such a thrill to be working with you and co-creating with you. And so I'm so excited about this new partnership. can't wait to get stuff moving. It's already moving. We're just going to make it more available publicly quite shortly. We're really close to that.
It is truly a match made in heaven. It is truly the core mission is on point and so in alignment. I do want to dive in, you know, I don't want this to turn into an AI major discussion, but I do love that the AI element to all of this and how it serves the clients and the organizations that come to be involved in this coursework. And so can you, the two of you, Sal, or both of you, dive in and how that each organization and client is being helped through AI to curate what is best for them?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've always been fascinated by how the appropriate use of technology can positively impact human lives and transform. And that's what we've done at MaximizeU, where we've incorporated AI to create guided and pathways, recommended pathways for individuals to move from their current state to their desired end state. Everybody's pathway is different. So people grow differently, they have different destination points. So how could we leverage technology to create that guided pathway and then to tweak the approach as you develop and grow? So I'm of the firm opinion that what gets measured gets done. And if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you. So we don't want to go anywhere. We want to go somewhere. And that's where the AI comes in to show people how to get from their starting point to their desired end goal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes complete sense.
And I'd also like Sal and Laura to talk about the way it's MaximizeU and the Edgewalkers Academy are not just courses. It's much richer than that. And the AI can thread the needle among the other ways of supporting people in their growth and their potential. So,
Indeed.
Yeah. I take the example of investment portfolio. I'm a numbers guy, okay? And so I like to draw that analogy. If you have an investment portfolio at Fidelity, for example, and you're 20 years old, your investment portfolio is going to look very different to what an investment portfolio of a 65-year-old person who's retired is. They're more focusing on stability, income, safety, whereas I, as a 20-year-old, am focused on growth, capital appreciation. So my portfolio is going to be more towards equities and slightly higher risk kind of investments. As I grow and I mature and I have a family and I have kids, now the portfolio needs to be tweaked and adjusted so that I continue to achieve my goals, but with the new reality of my new risk profile. So in the same way, you have to take control of your development and growth, but you have to tweak it as you grow. And that's how the AI and all our stuff comes in. And you're absolutely right, Judi. It's not just courses. It's a community. It's coaching. It's content. It's events. There's so much
And it's
stuff.
all types, right? It's all types of content in different ways. People learn differently. And that's where I told him we have to make sure we have different ways for people to get engaged. We have to have different, not everyone can just sit there in front of the computer and read all these documents and books.
Yeah.
And we have to have a variety of different engaging activities for our community in order to get them more involved and get them to absorb everything. So we had to change that. We had to, that's what.
And the community aspect cannot be underscored. It is so critical. And COVID and the isolation and the loneliness showed people that man is not meant to be alone.
Absolutely called them in.
Right? So that's what we are building here. The community and the support and the encouragement, right? I remember, Judi, we organized that Edgewalker Cafe on the power of a learning community, right? When you're down and you're feeling down, guess what? The community is going to pick you up and say, come on, keep moving. And that's the support that we're talking about.
Right.
Oh, so beautiful. So is there anything else you want to add, Judi, to that?
No, I think that's wonderful. I just want to underscore that really it is about community. Actually, I guess I would add that I'm very interested in this emerging shift in global consciousness. And it occurs when communities connect to communities.
Indeed.
And so first we have to build our own inner community of body, mind, emotion, spirit. We have to do our inner work. Then we need to connect to other like-minded people, which this platform allows us to do. And then these communities need to connect to other communities. And then you've got a movement. You have enough what we call critical yeast, not critical mass, but critical yeast, like yeast being the smallest thing in bread, but the most life-giving.
Right.
Yeah, that this is what's emerging, and AI and this platform and all the people that are attracted to living on the edge of every day, it's all coming together. People, technology, community, spirit, consciousness, it's all coming together. And it's a great time to be in the world. The world needs us, and now is the time. We're doing it.
Now is the time. Well, congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing how this grows and emerges and expands and builds greater, more unified consciousness.
Well, and Sandra, before we go, please say more about the Edge of Everyday on MaximizeU.life and what your vision is for this podcast and the community it helps to build.
Well, wonderful. I'm on MaximizeU.life in a few capacities, which is something that is extraordinary for me personally. I first came in through creating a impactful coaching and storytelling course that I'm in the process of creating, and I've got the first module is up. I've come in to also be featured as a facilitator for these kinds of conversations, for events, for groups, contributing in ways that can help bring people's vision together and their storytelling of their organization, of their event, bring that in a cohesive way and out into their communities and hopefully globally. For the podcast, the Edge of Every Day is, as I mentioned in my opening, it has become my spiritual platform. Understanding the embrace of our highest, most vibrant qualities and our service to humanity, without ignoring or brushing aside some of our identities and paradoxes that we would rather be shoving off into some shadowy corner. Both individually, all of us internally have that with the shadow work that we've all heard about, that Jung has brought to our attention and other shadow workers. But it's also collectively, we're watching it emerge in enormous ways in today's world that is moving so quickly and so chaotically. So we cannot look away. We cannot look away from these shadows that we as human beings want to. It's all light, it's all light. No, we have to embrace it all. And by embracing it all and staying present to it, then the new combines and merges and creates and offers the solution that no one saw. This is the beauty of the Edgewalkers. They see how to bridge the light and the dark into something that none of us could have imagined. So that at its heart and at its most spirit-filled is what the Edge of Every Day is all about, that platform. But, I want to have conversations with people that want to talk about their edges in a variety of ways. You know, mental health is something that is very important to Laura and Sal and Judi with workplace spirituality. It's a wonderful way to bring attention to how to help and educate around mental health issues. Now, we've got somebody I brought to the table to MaximizeU, a gentleman who teaches yoga, John Cottrell. It's another way and he came to yoga through the mental health community, and is, you know, what is the edge between that embodiment, that light embodiment, and that quality of depression, of other mental health issues? You know, there's so many ways of finding those edges where we can embrace both and bring a sense of wholeness. So in a nutshell, that's the edge of every day.
Thank you.
And thank you for asking. And as we wrap up and I do our last bit of housekeeping, I want again to, you know, everyone that's tuning in here knows that MaximizeU, the letter U, in case people are listening on iTunes, because this podcast is going to stream on iTunes as well, that MaximizeU, the letter U, .life is the website for MaximizeU. And then there's Edgewalkers International, which is at edgewalkers.org. My personal website is sandrabargman.com if you want to learn a little bit more about my background and what brought me here. Again, you can find my course, The Big Approach, in the communication portion of the website. What else do we need to? Oh, I have to shed out because of my hat. I have this fabulous hat, and I've promised my young friend who crocheted it for me.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
For last year's, and I whipped it out, of course, for tonight. One Crafty Witch Crochet. You can find her at One Crafty Witch Crochet on Instagram. And Edgewalkers and MaximizeU, you can find them on LinkedIn. You can find them on Twitter. You can find them on Facebook and on Insta. So, and me as well on all of those platforms. We are everywhere. Oh, I wanted to also mention that the edge of every day will drop bi-monthly. This is now it's not going to be a weekly. It's going to be a bi-monthly. And we're not going to do bi-monthly until December. We will have one more in November, and then we'll start the bi-monthly in December. So, and of course, we will have that all over the landing page of the podcast on MaximizeU. It will be posted on edgewalkers.org, and it will be posted on my website. So there will be a variety of ways that you can feel kept abreast of all of these activities. Have I thought of everything, folks? Is there anything else you want to add?
The Edgewalker Cafe.
Oh, yes. Edgewalker Cafe. Do you happen to have that in front of you, Judi?
Yeah, we do once a month, we do an Edgewalker Cafe that is free. It's a webinar that talks about edgy topics with edgy people. And
yes.
And our next one, of course, people are listening to this at different times, but November 2nd, 2023 is our next one. And you can find out the details by going to edgewalkers.org. And
I have one on January 11th. That is Thursday with a kinesiologist, where we continue the edge between wellness and well-being. So you can tune into all of these and find them on the edgewalkers.org landing page. Laura, Sal, is there anything you want to add to the end of this?
No, I'd just like to say that, you know, I came across a very insightful quote, which I think is important. And it says, you cannot steer a stationary car. Okay. So it's important to be in motion and to take action. And that's when action creates motion and motion creates emotion. So let's continue to act and move.
Yes.
And I want to thank all of you and Sandra and Judi and Laura for
Yes.
jump-starting this initiative. And let's keep the momentum going. And
Woo!
with
Absolutely.
God's blessing, we will continue to grow and develop. So thank you all.
Thank you. To our
Amen.
listeners, I thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for our next podcast. And remember, you are always on the edge of the miraculous. See you next time.
Thank you.